The turnover I'd built up to an annual amount of £50,000. And the reason that I decided that I would like to sell the turnover is because I'd been running my business for 15 years. It had sort of grown up organically as my children had grown up. They've now got to an age where they were both at university, and I had decided that actually the stress and the sleepless nights that I encountered were just too much. And so I was very keen to initially just finish the business and walk away from it. But obviously then Nicola got in touch with me. Well, Draper Hinks have been contacting me for years. They've obviously got a list of accountancy practices, and they sent out a mail shot, I would say about every 6 months. So I'd probably been receiving this when my practice was initially in Newbury for about 6 years actually, and I'd been reading the letter and just thinking, oh well, that's not gonna interest me. And it was rather funny because actually I went on a holiday in September last year, and I was using the holiday as time to mull over what I actually wanted to do moving forward. And I'd come back from my holiday and made a decision that was it. I was going to close the practice. And funnily enough, the day that I started back to work on the Monday, I get a letter from Draper Hinks. So I opened the letter and read it and thought, actually, rather than just walking away, potentially I could get something for the business. And of course, this has been 15 years worth of work. So it actually started to dawn on me that rather than just walk away, I could actually, get some money or some almost like compensation for it. And so I went onto the website, saw a testimonial video like we're doing now, and saw this lady who was basically saying about the sleepless nights, the deadlines, how clients feel that they're the only one and that you need to jump for them and jump through hoops for them basically. And I sat there and thought, well, that's me. And it almost had me in tears because her experiences mirrored my experiences. So my husband works from home and I called him down. He looked at the video and he said, well, that's you. And I said, it is. It is. So I thought, right, I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to contact the office, which is what I did. I spoke to Nicola's assistant, who then got Nicola to get in touch with me, and then it started from there. So it actually was a bit of a ray of light, really, a bit of hope for me that I was going to be able to get rid of the business, but I was going to do it in a more structured format rather than just walking away. Well, I spoke to Nicola at length. We must have had at least a half an hour initial conversation, and she assured me I was slightly reticent and nervous that somebody wouldn't want to buy my practice because it was a combination of bookkeeping and accounting services. And I was convinced that somebody wouldn't want it. And she assured me that somebody would. And just basically we went over the process, and she started to give me confidence that in fact somebody would be interested. So yeah, initially there was that initial conversation, but as we moved through the process, she constantly reassured me that, things were going to be okay. Initially, I was concerned when we sent the mail shot out that we weren't going to get enough practices interested. And she held the faith, and she was right, because we got 4, which was enough for me to deal with, really. So yeah, constant reassurance all the way through. Yes, we did have a meeting day. It started properly at 9:30 on the 20th of November. We met 4 prospective purchasers, and the meeting time was for an hour. And it was good. It was good. I was quite nervous initially, but once I got into the flow of it, it was good. Yes. Yes, she did attend the meeting day, and yes, it helped me enormously, particularly on the first meeting. I was totally unaware of what format the meeting was supposed to take. And before we actually commenced any of the meetings, she took me through the initial format, and basically that followed through with the other three. So the initial meeting was a bit of a learning curve, but then as I got more and more confident, I was able to deal with them almost myself by the second and third meeting. She was quite good, because it was almost like she was managing the meeting, so that if somebody tended to speak for too long, we'd got a list of really the way we wanted it to flow, and if somebody was perhaps overrunning or talking too much, she sort of kept it together, so that literally it was an hour meeting and no longer. I initially received 2 offers. Two of the parties that came, I decided weren't right initially, but there were 2 people who were particularly interested in purchasing the practice. I then went on to have further meetings with them without Nicola being present, but whilst I was there on my own, I did contact Nicola to sort of go over my concerns about the 2 practices that were still in the running. One of them was a larger practice, one was an individual, and I was slightly concerned that the larger practice would be too large for my clients and they'd just get swallowed up. But as it is, they were the ones that I went on to choose, and it's worked quite well. So she was always there to give me a bit of input and a bit of assistance if I had any worries and doubts. Well, once I'd made a decision on who I was going to sell to, basically I took more control as to how we managed the actual deal. The sale of the practice was on the 31st of May. So it gave us a little bit of time after the madness of January to manage the process between myself and the practice that I actually sold to. Nicola kept checking in with me every week just to say how things going, how things progressing. So I knew she was always there for moral support, and when I did have a little bit of a wobble at one point, I wrote to her and said, "Oh, I'm panicking," and she just calmed me down a bit. But apart from that, I just knew she was always there if I needed her. But it was very much I took over the management along with the company that I was selling to. So I knew she was there on the peripheral, but it was me actually managing it and leading it, as we went further down the road of the sale. I initially approached Nicola in mid-September, and I decided that I didn't want it to actually close the practice until the following May. Basically, that was because I needed to prepare myself and also my business to be in the right state to be able to sell it. So I felt that I needed to be totally in control, and it gave me time to manage actually telling the clients. So I'd decided when I was going to tell the clients, and then it gave a couple of months then to integrate the clients and talk to them and have individual meetings with all of them and the partner from the practice that I was selling to, so that they felt comfortable. So it wasn't just right, I'm selling and that's it. It was all very controlled and measured. Also, as most accountants know, January is absolute chaos. So January was completely out anyway. So that was almost like a month gone anyway, that we couldn't really do anything in because everybody was far too busy. So it took longer than perhaps it should have done, but that was because I'd made that decision that I wanted it to take longer than it could have done. I'd say to any other vendor who is interested in selling their practice that they should definitely pursue the idea. I originally didn't think I was going to receive anything. I just wanted out and was prepared to walk away. As I contacted Draper Hinks, I realised that obviously I was going to get something for it. I didn't quite believe it initially, but I realised that I could, and I'm living proof that obviously you can do it. It's an easy process with Nicola's guidance, and if you tried to do it on your own, you'd struggle. But she definitely held my hand through it and made it an easier process than it potentially could have been.